FoxSports.com senior baseball writer. Let's hear it for him. And he worked the Red Sox-Dodgers game yesterday where there was an amazing moment. Was that yesterday or Saturday where David Ortiz I went online last night and saw him and Vin Scully. Was that yesterday?
That was yesterday,
That was an amazing moment.
It was really cool.
It really was.
And a lot of people have paid tribute to Vin Scully, Colin, this year in similar fashion. Players going up to the broadcast booth in uniform. But for Ortiz to do that, I mean, he's David Ortiz.
Right.
And it was very special. And it's great to see how Vin Scully has been embraced this year by everyone involved in the sport. Now, you would think, of course he would be, but it has been rather special just to see all the tributes, everything that's gone on.
There's a certain level of decency that almost no public figure has. And in the most acrimonious presidential fight of my life, his decency just illuminates the room. Ken Rosenthal joining us. So you had a great article. In fact, I retweeted it yesterday, and I don't do that very often, about A-Rod. And he worked last year here at Fox, so I'm sure you were on the set, and you've known him for years anyway. And he doesn't have, I said this to start the show, he is so consumed with optics. I don't think he's a bad guy. I think we're all flawed. So take my audience, if they've not read your article, and please do, FoxSports.com, Ken Rosenthal on A-Rod. It was kind of to me, that was the seminal article yesterday. Did he call you? How did it start?
Well, certainly we do have a relationship because we both worked for Fox. And I'm not under any illusions that he picked me because I'm his favorite writer.
Okay.
The relationship, I'm sure, is the reason he said, okay, if we're going to go to one guy, let's go to this guy. I do know him. I've known him forever. But that is the genesis of it. Now, we talked on Saturday night late. And obviously the press conference was Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern.
Who decided to call that?
The press conference?
Yes.
That would have been the Yankees and A-Rod.
Okay, so they agreed on
that was a joint press conference,
okay.
Sure. And the condition of writing this article was I could not post it online until the press conference began. He didn't want to upstage the press conference. He didn't want to offend the Yankees. And he just felt that was the way to go. And at that point, I'm his hostage. I have to do what he wants.
Sure.
So that's fine. But that's the origins of it. So basically, we just talked through the whole situation and why this is happening, how it happened.
He can't hit anymore.
Well, that's the main reason why it happened.
Can't get around on fastballs.
No, he can't, Colin. You're right. And a couple of interesting things came out of it from my perspective. And this came up all day yesterday. People ask, is he done? And some outlets reported this as a retirement announcement. It was not a retirement announcement. It was a press conference in which he said he's going to play his last game Friday. Then the Yankees are going to release him. The Yankees issued a press release to that end. And the other part of it was he's going to join the Yankees or remain with the Yankees as an advisor, ambassador.
So does that mean
instructor.
He couldn't play for anybody else?
He can certainly play for anybody else.
So that was my question, Ken. First of all, he was just essentially the press conference. He was released. He's being released.
Absolutely right, Colin. There's not even a shadow of a doubt about that.
Okay, so instead, so this is my cynicism, Ken. He's being released. He wanted to dance it up and not be as harsh because he's embarrassed. So he says, I'd like to work for the Yankees. But behind the scenes, he's trying to get another team to get to 700 home runs. And then if it happens, he'll put the Yankee thing on hold and say, well, I wanted to do it. Now, I'm being cynical here. But am I far off?
I don't know that you're far off. And what I was getting to in that conversation that I had with him, I asked him 3 different times, are you done? Because I wasn't getting an answer. The answer I got was, the first time, honestly, I haven't looked that far. My horizon is Friday, and my horizon is pinstripes. I'm not looking past Friday. I'm not entertaining anything. And even at the press conference, he did not rule it out. And the other thing he said in my article that I thought was telling about this particular aspect of it, he said he thinks he could get to 700. And if he thinks that,
yes.
And Colin, we've seen this with great athletes over the years, every sport, guys who age, women who age at the end of their careers. They don't want to say goodbye.
Especially when there's a record hanging.
Right. A huge milestone, no question. So I don't get the impression that he believes he is done. Now, the real question then becomes, will another team take a chance on him? Because, as you just said, can't hit a fastball anymore. Can't play the field. We know that. Can't really run.
So an American League team that maybe is looking like a Tampa, like perhaps somebody that's not in a race that could use some seats.
But Does he fill seats? I don't know. The other team that will be rumored, I'll guarantee you this will come up in the next couple of weeks, will be Miami. Now, it's a National League team, but it's home. And the owner, Jeffrey Loria, has certainly an
Motivations.
he has something of a session with the Yankees. He is from New York. He hired Mattingly. He is star-driven.
But he's in a playoff race.
He's in a playoff race. I can't even imagine how A-Rod could help that team. However, keep in mind, Colin, on September 1st, rosters expand.
Oh,
You could have him sitting there. You can pinch
okay.
hit him. I don't see it. I honestly do not see it. But that is the team that has been linked to him before, simply because that is his home and because Loria is a guy who loves stars and loves Yankees.
You have a Hall of Fame vote. You didn't vote Bonds in. I could make more of an argument for Bonds, or perhaps they're parallel arguments. I saw A-Rod. I remember when he came in, and I went. I was working in Portland. I got a press pass to go to a Mariners game because I wanted to go watch him, and I just wanted to see him up close. And he was slender, and he was a remarkable player. He was remarkable. I mean, how lucky was I? I had my favorite baseball team was bad, and I got Griffey and A-Rod, and Randy Johnson, and Mark Langston for an hour was really good. How am I supposed to look? Let's start with this. Could you vote him in?
Well, first of all, I did vote for Bonds for the first time this past year.
Okay, you did.
And I'll explain my reasoning really quickly. It's basically
That was his fourth year of eligibility.
That was his fourth year of eligibility.
Yeah.
And it's been really difficult as a voter to assess the impact of the era,
Yeah.
what exactly happened, how to vote. But my feeling is Piazza's been a long-rumored guy.
Right.
He may have used steroids. Many people think he did use steroids. There may be another player in the Hall of Fame who used steroids. So at that point, I'm lost. How do I start keeping guys out when there might be guys in who have used? It's a very difficult argument to make. We're basically splitting hairs.
My argument's always been all in, all out, but don't be hypocritical. Like your argument to me is then if Bonds is in on your fourth, then you have to at some point consider A-Rod.
Absolutely right. And the era will be looked at, I believe, in time, differently than it's being looked at now. I believe people will get less moral about this. Now, that's not to say I'm comfortable with any of this. It makes me cringe thinking that Bonds is going to stand up there giving the speech, and Clemens the same. I voted for him as well. But when you get to the A-Rod question, people will say, okay, he admitted to using between 2001 and 2003 when no penalties were in place. Biogenesis, when he got his 162, that was when penalties were in place. He knew the rules, and he still violated the rules. And I believe that some voters will hold that standard against him. It's going to be really difficult for him to get in, not just because of the PED use, but also because of the fact he sued the union, he sued Major League Baseball, he sued the Yankees doctor. It was real ugly there for a while. And you could make a strong case that he damaged the sport.
Yes, absolutely. Ken Rosenthal, a senior baseball writer, been covering baseball. How many years covering baseball?
This is 29.
Wow. You look great, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
Baseball can beat you up in that summer.
Yes, it can.
Those grumpy baseball managers can beat a guy up. Ken, I want you to put your psychology hat on. I always compared A-Rod. I said it would be like George Clooney in his 30s getting Botox. You're being greedy. The psychology of why he cheated.
Colin, that is a great question, not just about A-Rod, but about Bonds and about others. Now, these athletes, we know this, they're driven to be the best.
Sure.
They have huge egos. And in the eyes of some of them, this is the way to maximize their abilities. And you can debate the morality of it, the ethics of it all day long, but there's always been cheating in sports.
What about the
guys looking for an edge?
What about a guy like Bonds? Sees a lesser player whose numbers surpass his, and Bonds said, screw this. Is that part of it?
That seemingly is what happened with Bonds, right? And he was upset by the attention Sosa and McGuire were
because he
getting.
felt he was
a better
much
player, a
superior
better all-around player. There's no doubt about that.
Clearly.
And that is the narrative that surrounds his use of PEDs. I don't know it for a fact to be true. It certainly makes sense to me. But in A-Rod's case, we don't even know exactly when he started. There are many people who believe he started in high school. And who knows? I couldn't say for sure. I couldn't have an opinion on that. But he certainly used while he was a major leaguer, and he certainly used while he was aware, by being a part of the union, that the penalties were in place.
Ken Rosenthal, go to his stuff. Worked the Dodgers, Red Sox last night. We're very lucky here. We have the National League playoffs here at Fox. We could potentially get, if the Mets get their act together, Giants, Dodgers, Kershaw could potentially come back. There's a Bryce Harper. We could get Miami, Giancarlo Stanton. You'll be all over those games, and I appreciate you stopping by today.
Thanks, Colin.
You bet.